Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. I know I already released a video today about carbon dioxide monitoring in our Tesla Model Y, so definitely check that one out if you haven't seen it yet. And there's a really cool, very positive episode about TeslaBot coming out tomorrow. It's part 2 of a conversation, so definitely check out part 1 if you haven't seen that yet. But unfortunately, it's unfortunate, but also I think a little bit less than surprising that this has happened at this point. But Herbert Diess is officially resigning as Volkswagen's boss or CEO of the company. It more than likely is power struggle and he was kicked out. That's the very likely outcome. And it probably also has a lot to do with Cariad, which is their software push, which is way behind in a complete mess. Interestingly enough, Porsche's manager Blume is going to take over as CEO. I'm not sure if that's permanent or just like a temporary sort of thing. Anyway, so let's go ahead and read this Spiegel article. This is translated from German, so apologies if there's any slightly awkward English in here. Diess steps down as VW boss, Porsche manager Blume takes over. And of course, this is dated today as I'm recording this. The Wolfsburg car manufacturer surprisingly exchanged its CEO. Herbert Diess is leaving on September 1st, in other words, little over a month from now. His successor at VW will be the head of the sports car subsidiary Porsche, Oliver Blume. So if you don't know, of course, VW is not just the Volkswagen brand, it's also Audi and Porsche and oh my gosh, there's other ones I'm not remembering them off the top of my head. But anyway, it's a large group of vehicles, and so Porsche is one of the subsidiaries. So picture of Herbert Diess there. Okay, so reading on, Herbert Diess steps down as CEO of the Volkswagen Group. The company surprisingly announced on Friday that the 63-year-old had agreed with the supervisory board to leave on September 1st. Successor is to be Porsche's boss, Oliver Blume. So you can see from the fact that it says that he had agreed with the supervisory board to leave on September 1st. It's, you know, he's been fighting for his job for a couple of years here. So clearly he was pushed out. That's not something, you know, what is that thing where they always say, like, I want to go spend more time with my family or something? That's always the excuse. All right. Anyway, so Blume is to continue in his current position in parallel. He is currently working on an IPO for Porsche, which is actually really huge, which should go ahead in the fall. At VW, 54-year-old Blume will be supported operationally by Chief Financial Officer Arno Antlitz, I hope I pronounced that approximately correctly, who will also be responsible for day-to-day business in the future. So Blume is going to be a busy man. The former BMW boss Diess has been leading VW since April of 2018. The supervisory board has agreed with the 63-year-old to leave, VW said. Chairman of the supervisory board, Hans-Dieter Putsch, I probably did not pronounce that correctly, thanked Diess. During his time as CEO of the Volkswagen brand and of the group, he played a key role in driving forward the transformation of the company. We'll get back to that in just a minute. Diess pushed the conversion of VW and e-mobility significantly. However, there have recently been a number of problems, especially with the sluggish and increasingly expensive development of in-house software and IT systems. So you can even see from this press release that they're not singing his praises entirely. So again, if there was any question of whether he was resigning or being fired, that pretty much explains it right there. Diess's post at Volkswagen had previously wobbled. That's an interesting translation. Last year, a power struggle between the manager and employee representatives escalated. After severe criticism of his leadership, Diess handed over responsibility for the core VW brand in order to get more freedom, as it was called at the time. Even then, Porsche boss Blume was traded, I assume that means suggested, as a possible successor to Diess. His name had been mentioned several times behind the scenes as the conflict between the VW boss and the powerful Works Council escalated, and there is a whole gigantic political mess. I call it too many cooks in the kitchen, basically, but that's what VW is. They've got too many different groups of people who are very powerful who all want their way, and it's really causing VW to be unable to move into the 21st century rapidly. And then at the end, there's some details about Diess's life, which we don't really need to do. You can read that if you want to on the page. So first of all, why did this happen? Well, it's happened, like I said, because there's too many cooks in the kitchen. So there's a lot of people who want things that he doesn't want. There have been a lot of people who've been very against the push to get into EVs, even though they're probably happy now that they have been doing that. And so Diess has been basically fighting for his job for well over a year now. So he's been having responsibilities and his authority cut, which has not been good for anybody. The other piece of this puzzle, and I think the real crux of the matter right now, is the Cariad software issue. And that is that they're trying to push out a whole new stack of software to run their vehicles on. So right? From the ground up, battery management systems, security, the way the car drives, infotainment systems, et cetera, et cetera. So the whole thing from the bottom up. This is a very, very complex thing to do, very hard to do. Volkswagen has put like 5,000 people on this job, which is way, way, way too many in my mind. The problem with software development is you actually want a relatively small team working on that, maybe 100 people at the core. Interestingly enough, and coincidentally enough, it sounds like Tesla's AI team is about 120 people, the core AI team. So that I would consider to be, even on the large side for doing a big software push, you just want really, really smart people and not that many of them so that they can get work done quickly. 5,000 seems like a recipe for disaster. I've said that in other videos. You can check those out if you're interested. But anyway, that is probably what's really pushed things over the edge at this point. It's just not working as well as it should have. Things are going to be delayed. The Porsche IPO is going to have a mess to deal with because of the fact that the software is not there yet. So again, way too many cooks in the kitchen. That seems to be VW's modus operandi. So what does this say for the future of Diess and for VW? Well, Diess is going to be fine. I'm sure he's got a golden parachute, so he'll get paid plenty of money. It's possible that Elon Musk might be in talks with him right now to be looking at, doing something for Tesla Germany. Although at 63 years old, he seems rather old for Tesla's, it seems like generally speaking, they have a younger management group, but we'll see. If he is being looked at by Tesla, I expect to see rumors within days about him being courted by Tesla. So we could find out very, very quickly. It's also possible that the firing or resignation of Diess might also have a bit of a poison pill in there, that he's not allowed to work for anybody, i.e. Tesla, for like a year or 2 years after he quits. And that might be part of his payoff package, right? So anyway, we don't know about those details yet, but Diess is going to be fine. I'm sure he's totally fine. As for VW, this really could spell disaster for them. And what I mean by that is that Diess has been the one who's been pushing them to go into the future. There are a lot of people, a lot of parties in the management part of the Volkswagen group that really want to slow down the transition to electric vehicles, and they really want to go back to building ICE vehicles and things like that. And this is really bad news for Volkswagen. I can't overstate this. I think this could actually lead to their eventual bankruptcy or having to be bailed out by the German government. And along with BMW and Mercedes having the same problems, this is a really big problem for the entire country of Germany. I think that this is a significant issue. And if people aren't paying attention to that in Germany right now, they're going to wake up and be very, very sad one day when they lose 3 top brands of auto manufacturers within a couple of years if they don't do something about it right now. And interestingly enough, just within the last few days, and you can check that out up here as well, I did a whole thing about how Detroit and Germany and Japan are becoming irrelevant to the new automotive industry. And it's really turning into Tesla and Chinese companies and also even VinFast from Singapore. So, we're looking at a really, really big power shift in where geographically the powerhouse of producing automotive vehicles is happening because of the BEV transition. It's disrupting everything, and Volkswagen is set up to be majorly disrupted, especially now that they've basically fired Herbert Diess. So I'm sad. I'm a big fan of Herbert Diess. I'm actually a big fan of Volkswagen. I've owned several of their vehicles. I think that they're really good vehicles. But, starting with the whole Dieselgate thing in the mid-2010s and then on to this whole transition, it seems like they're kind of losing their mojo. So I'm very much worried about that. I'm worried about the country of Germany because of the fact that they could lose all 3 auto manufacturers, at least as significant players, very, very quickly. So these are all ugly, ugly indications, and hopefully I'll be wrong about that, but I have a bad feeling that I'm going to be right. Anyway, I'd be curious to know what you have to say about all of this stuff. Let me know in the comments. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please do like it so other people can find it, and consider subscribing for more of this kind of content, particularly because the Optimus video is coming out tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon. Thank you all so much for your support. And actually, it was Claudia. My German office alerted me to this right away. I was actually working on a blog post for my company, so I wasn't able to get on this quite as fast as I wanted to, but she's always right on it, so she got that. So thank you to her in particular. And of course, if you want to join the team, just check out the link in the description. And if you're interested in a whole bunch of really cool merch, check out our merch store. Link is in the description. We have TeslaBot t-shirts, the Tesla meme t-shirt, success is a possible outcome, 4680 battery cells. All of that stuff is on t-shirts, mugs, tumblers, and on. So check it out. And for those of you interested in investing, check out WeBull, an amazing platform for buying and selling stocks, and now cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and others. Open an account and get a free stock valued at up to $200, and fund your account and get another free stock valued at up to $1,600. Check out the link in the description and help the channel at the same time. Thank you. And finally, don't forget we are both Tesla and Amazon affiliates. If you look in the description, you can see how going shopping for a solar roof, a power wall, or anything on Amazon helps out the channel. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.